In my past life, when my parents divorced, my younger brother, Leo, went with our wealthy father while I was left with our mother, who had nothing to her name. But who would have guessed that Dad would later go bankrupt, ending up destitute on the streets, while Mom married a young CEO who adored both her and me. I never expected Leo, green with envy over my good fortune, to run me down with his car in a fit of rage. When I opened my eyes again, we were back on the day of their divorce. This time, Leo didn't hesitate for a second, grabbing Mom's hand and declaring, "Mom, I'm going with you." I could barely contain my joy. I had no desire to relive those dark, sunless days. Dad, looking displeased, frowned and said, "Life with your mother will be hard. You should stay with me. Let your brother go with her." I stood to the side, my heart aching. Just like last time, no one bothered to ask what I wanted. In their eyes, my opinion was completely irrelevant. Mom looked at Leo, her eyes full of disapproval. "Honey, your father's right. You'll suffer if you come with me." But Leo, already knowing Dad's future bankruptcy, was never going to choose him. Sure enough, Leo shook his head firmly. Dad, seeing his resolve, kept trying to persuade him. "Son, Dad can give you a better life. Staying with me is the smart choice." Leo just turned his head away, insisting, "I don't want to. I'm going with Mom." In the end, Dad couldn't change his mind and waved his hand in resignation. "Fine, fine, have it your way. If you can't handle the hardship, remember to come find me." Leo nodded and shot me a triumphant, provocative look. "Edward, you can enjoy the good life with Dad from now on." I just smiled, unbothered, thinking to myself, perfect. I really didn't want to go through those dark, sunless days again. In my last life, living with Mom seemed glamorous on the surface, but it was incredibly difficult. I said coolly, "Leo, this is the path you chose. Don't you regret it?" Leo snorted, "I'll never regret it. I'll have a life of luxury with Mom." With that, he took Mom's hand and left without a backward glance. I watched them go, a storm of emotions brewing inside me. In my past life, Mom started with nothing and refused to do any dirty or tiring work. She always said with a sense of entitlement, "I raised you for this long. It's time for you to repay me and let me enjoy life." But I was just a high school student, not even an adult, and she expected me to carry the weight of our survival. Yet I couldn't refuse her demands. I had to support both myself and her, and the pressure was immense. During that time, even getting enough to eat was a luxury. Eventually, I couldn't afford tuition and had to drop out of school just to make ends meet. I handed out flyers, washed dishes, and delivered food. I did every odd job I could find. It took years of that kind of work just to get our lives back on track. In the car, Dad told me with a stern face, "I'm taking you to your Aunt Miriam's house now. You'd better not embarrass me." My own father was ashamed of me. Leo, being the youngest, was always doted on by our parents. He grew up confident and generous, while I became sensitive and insecure. Also, a $500 allowance is too much. From now on, you'll only get $200 a month. I don't want you getting into trouble. I sneered internally. Leo's monthly allowance was $50,000. Yet for me, even $500 was too much. But I didn't want to argue. The outcome would be the same anyway. I rode in a luxury car to a mansion, the first time I had ever been in such a wealthy place, and my heart was filled with anxiety. But watching Dad's fawning behavior around Aunt Miriam, I understood who really called the shots in this family. Aunt Miriam stood by the living room's floor-to-ceiling windows and seemed somewhat welcoming of my arrival. "This is your home now," she said. I whispered, "Thank you, Aunt Miriam," a wave of gratitude and nervousness washing over me. Not only did Miriam enroll me in the best private school in all of Chicago, with the city's top educational resources, but she also generously gave me a $100,000 monthly allowance. This money was not just material satisfaction. It was a testament to Miriam's deep affection for me. I secretly vowed to make her proud. From then on, I studied relentlessly at school, mastering every concept and giving my all in every exam. Aunt Miriam was so good to me. I had to achieve something and not let her down. Soon, my efforts paid off. My name appeared again and again on scholarship lists and competition winner announcements. But when the school called Dad, Inviting him to speak as the parent of an outstanding student, he would always sound wary and annoyed. Did that kid get into trouble again? However, upon learning the truth, his tone would fill with shock and disbelief, and he would stare at me stunned for a long moment before it sank in. In my last life, my grades were actually quite good too, but I had to drop out to support us after the divorce. This time, with my livelihood secured, I was naturally going to focus on my studies. As Dad was invited to speak as an outstanding parent representative more and more, his vanity was greatly satisfied. His attitude towards me softened considerably. But I knew all these changes were because of the support and encouragement Aunt Miriam gave me. And Miriam's business partners would also praise me in front of her. They would say, with a mix of envy and admiration, "Miriam, your stepson is really making you proud. I see great things in his future." Hearing this, Miriam would beam with joy. This kid is indeed a hard worker. I was not wrong about him. In the blink of an eye, high school was almost over. Miriam asked if I wanted to study abroad, suggesting it might broaden my horizons and help me grow. However, the moment she proposed it, Dad flatly refused. Go abroad for what? Does he think he deserves to go abroad? Don't waste our money. I was stunned. So in my father's heart, I was still the son not worth investing in. He looked down on me from the bottom of his heart. Hearing this, Miriam's brow furrowed. I think she sensed that the relationship between my father and me was not good. Miriam was a powerhouse of a businesswoman, assertive and brilliant. But tragically, she could not have children. I figured the only reason she took a liking to my father was because he was obedient, easy to control, and knew exactly how to flatter her. This is why in my past life I mistakenly thought my father was the successful, wealthy one, and the reason my father married my mother must have been because my mother was even better at flattering him, satisfying his ego to the extreme. Later, when he latched onto Miriam, he had to discard my mother. Miriam comforted me. It's okay if you don't go abroad. Besides, I would worry about you being all alone out there. With your grades, the top universities in the States will be fighting over you. I thought about it and agreed. Plus, the educational resources here were just as good as those abroad. And so, the matter of studying abroad was dropped. Life went on at a steady pace. I knew that Leo and Mom were not doing well and would eventually come to Dad for help. But I did not expect them to show up so soon. That day, I had just finished a few practice exams and was coming downstairs when I saw a disheveled Leo desperately clinging to Dad's hand. He was begging, "Dad, just let me stay for a while. I really have nowhere else to go." Dad's face was full of pity as he quickly said, "Leo, come in, come in." How could Dad not take you in? Although Miriam was not thrilled, she agreed for Dad's sake. After Leo moved in, Dad naturally doted on him completely. "Son, I bought all these treats for you," Dad said, his face wreathed in smiles. "And these new clothes are for you too." Sometimes, Leo would even steal Miriam's jewelry to sell. When I caught him, he warned me, "If you dare tell Aunt Miriam, you are dead." I gave him a cold look and replied, "You'd better watch yourself." But Leo just sneered, telling me to mind my own business. Otherwise, he had plenty of ways to frame me and get me kicked out of the house. Of course, I would not say anything, but even if I did not, the maids and servants in the house were not blind. They had been here for years, and their words carried more weight than mine. Miriam's patience had its limits. Once that limit was crossed, who knew who would be the one getting kicked out? Leo still thought Miriam was oblivious and became increasingly brazen in the house, acting as if he were the master of it all. But this time, Leo actually tried to take the room Miriam had arranged for me. Dad chimed in to support him. "You're the older brother. You should give in to Leo. Let him have the south-facing room." Leo looked at me smugly. "Yeah, Edward, hurry up and pack your things. Get lost." Of course, I had no intention of giving my room to Leo, so I immediately refused. But Leo and Dad were relentless, grabbing my arm and trying to drag me out of the room. What is all this shouting about? Just as we were at a stalemate, Miriam arrived, frowning. I beat Leo to it and explained the situation to Miriam, telling her that Leo wanted my room. Miriam glanced at Leo with displeasure, then turned to Dad. "Richard, how can you be so clueless? Leo is your son, but is not Edward your son too? If you keep spoiling Leo like this, he's going to end up on the wrong path. Dad's face instantly turned bright red, as if Miriam's words had struck a nerve. He shot up and retorted loudly. What are you talking about? Why can't my son have a nice room? Besides, who I choose to spoil is my business. They are my sons, not yours. Hearing this, Miriam became even more furious. Are you saying I am meddling? Miriam had not only let Leo move in, but had also never treated him poorly. She was shocked that my father would say such a thing to her. Her temper flared. Richard, it is one thing for me to support you, but now I have to support your ungrateful brat of a son too? You probably do not even know what your precious Leo has been up to, do you? Miriam pointed a trembling finger at Leo. He has been stealing my jewelry. Is that acceptable? Do you have any idea how much that jewelry is worth? Leo looked completely unfazed, pouting as he retorted, It is just a few pieces of jewelry. You are so rich. Why are you being so stingy? Besides, it is not like I was not going to give them back. Dad, unbelievably, also thought it was no big deal and chimed in, My Leo is right. It is just a few pieces of jewelry. Do not make a mountain out of a molehill. I was utterly speechless. Dad, get a grip. Stealing is wrong, period. It does not matter how much Aunt Miriam's jewelry is worth. It is not something he should have done. However, as soon as the words left my mouth, Dad slapped me hard across the face. You ungrateful traitor. It is just some jewelry. Miriam has plenty of it, so it is no big deal if he takes a little. What right do you have to butt in? I clutched my cheek, looking at my father in disbelief. A mixture of hurt and anger nearly suffocated me. My eyes widened, tears welling up, but I stubbornly refused to let them fall. Seeing this, Miriam's voice trembled with rage. Richard, how could you hit the boy? You need to understand that jewelry is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is theft. It is a crime he could go to jail for. Dad finally grasped the severity of the situation. He froze, turning to Leo with a trembling voice. Did you really steal that much valuable jewelry from your Aunt Miriam? Leo, still not realizing the gravity of the situation, stubbornly said, Why are you all saying I took it? Do you have any proof, huh? Richard, get your son out of here now. Otherwise, you can both get out. Miriam was livid. Dad and Leo were stunned. They never imagined Miriam would be so resolute. Dad tried to salvage the situation. Miriam, how can you be so heartless? Leo just took a few pieces of your jewelry, and you're going to kick him out for it. Seeing that Dad still did not get it, Miriam's face hardened, and she looked at them coldly. Get out. I never want to see either of you again. At that, Dad's face turned pale. He finally realized that Miriam was truly, deeply angry. He rushed forward, grabbing her arm, his voice pleading. Miriam, let me explain. I never thought things would get this out of hand. I know I was wrong. I will discipline Leo properly. Just please do not kick us out. Miriam looked at Dad, hesitated for a moment, then shook his hand off. It is too late for that now. I am completely disappointed in you. Go. I do not want to see you again. Dad wanted to plead more, but Miriam had already called for security. Security promptly escorted both Dad and Leo out of the house. Without Miriam's support, Dad, who had no real skills, could not last long in this harsh world. He struggled to survive. Besides, it was hard for him to go from a life of luxury to a simple one. He had tasted the good life. How could he endure a normal existence? Although Miriam had kicked Dad and Leo out, she let me stay. I knew she wanted to groom me to be her successor, so I could not let her down. One day, Dad came to find me privately to plead his case. It had only been a few days, but he looked haggard, with a scruffy beard and a listless expression. Son, go talk to Miriam for me. Ask her to forgive me, okay, he said with a fawning smile. I knew he would not stoop this low unless he was truly desperate. His current attitude could only mean he was at the end of his rope. But if I help him, who would help me? I refused. Dad, you brought this on yourself. I am not going to help you. Hearing this, Dad's demeanor instantly changed from fake pleasantries to fury. You ungrateful, heartless thing. I am your father, and you will not help me. And do not you forget who brought you into this house in the first place. I could not help but laugh coldly. When they got divorced, They never once asked who I wanted to be with. But now he was bringing it up. I used the excuse of being late for school and quickly left. But Dad was relentless. From then on, he would block my path every day to curse at me. He probably figured if he was miserable, he would make sure I was too. "You ungrateful brat. I raised you for nothing," he yelled at my school's entrance. "Everyone come and see. This is the unfilial son who ignores his own father's plight and only cares about his own enjoyment. A person like this does not deserve to go to a prestigious school." The other students, not knowing the full story, started pointing and whispering about me. The school administration began calling me in for talks. I was so annoyed by him, my mind was in turmoil. But I did not want to bother Miriam again, so I just tried my best to avoid him. I never expected that a few days later, Leo would ambush me with a group of thugs on my way home from school. Leo said, "This is for not helping Dad. I'm going to teach you a lesson today." With that, they started punching and kicking me, beating me black and blue. "Hit him! Beat him to a pulp!" Leo shouted arrogantly. I was powerless to fight back, forced to endure their assault. Finally, they swaggered off, and I limped my way home. What I did not expect was to find Dad there when I got back. He was diligently giving Miriam a shoulder massage. When Dad saw my bruised and battered state, he did not show a hint of concern. Instead, he frowned and said, "Why are you acting like a street punk, always getting into fights?" Just as I was about to explain, Leo appeared, also covered in injuries. Leo beat me to the punch, crying and wailing, "Dad, Edward sent people to beat me up. I'm so miserable." I furiously denied it. I did not. He is the one who brought people to beat me up. But Dad only believed Leo, pointing at me and yelling, "You are still lying. Your brother would never lie." Miriam, seeing that they could not agree, calmly said, "Then let us call the police and let them figure it out." Unexpectedly, the security cameras on that street were all broken, making the situation even more complicated. Leo seized the opportunity to play the victim, crying out, "I have been framed. How could Edward do this to me? I can't live like this anymore." With that, he rushed towards the second-floor balcony and, before anyone could react, leaped off. Everyone was shocked. No one expected Leo to jump off a balcony to prove his innocence. The sudden turn of events terrified Dad. He slapped me hard again, screaming in a rage, "Are you not happy until you have driven your brother to his death, you heartless monster?" I clutched my face, filled with hurt and rage. I did not. He hit me first. Miriam, however, remained calm and patted my shoulder reassuringly. "Do not worry, the truth will come out." Of course, Leo was fine. He knew there was a flower bed below. He would not die, just get some minor injuries. But Dad was extremely worried, desperately begging Miriam, please get him the best doctors in the world. He has to be okay." Miriam looked at the frantic Dad and then at Leo lying on the ground, and she did call for the world's top doctors. Meanwhile, Dad was still cursing at me, calling me an ungrateful brat, a bastard, a jinx, and wondering how he ever raised such a creature. After the doctor's examination, it was confirmed that Leo was fine, just some scrapes that would heal quickly. But Dad was relentless, even demanding that I kneel and apologize to Leo. Of course, I would not kneel. It was not my fault to begin with. Unbelievably, Dad grabbed a nearby vase and was about to smash it over my head. Thankfully, Miriam intervened. "Let's take care of Leo first. Do not make things worse." Although Dad put the vase down, he still glared at me fiercely. I thought the matter was over, but I never expected that later that night, as I was sleeping, a knife would be pressed against my neck. I jolted awake to see Leo. He whispered menacingly, "You idiot. Your good days are numbered. Your precious Aunt Miriam is about to go bankrupt, and you will be out on the streets. But before that, I'm going to enjoy myself. I will be waiting for you to come crawling to me like a dog." He then laughed maniacally and left. Sure enough, not long after, Miriam's company's secrets were somehow leaked, one after another, causing its stock price to plummet. Panic spread through the company, and employees started whispering about their futures. As the saying goes, when a wall is about to collapse, everyone gives it a push. Soon, Miriam's company had to declare bankruptcy. Miriam watched helplessly as our house was foreclosed on, and we were forced onto the streets. Her expression was desolate, her eyes filled with exhaustion and despair. "Maybe this is just fate," she said. I tried to comfort her. "Aunt Miriam, do not lose hope. We can definitely make a comeback." Dad, seeing things had gone south, certainly was not going to stick around through thick and thin. He left us not long after. Meanwhile, on my mother's side, she ran into her college first love, who is now a multi-millionaire CEO. To win her over, the CEO showered her with endless affection and a life of luxury. Soon, Mom and Leo moved into a grand mansion, living the high life. Miriam looked at me and advised, "Edward, maybe you should go find your mother. Perhaps she can help you. After all, you are her son. She would not just ignore you." I firmly refused. "Aunt Miriam, even if I went to her, she would not help me. When I was at my lowest, you were the one who helped me. Now I need to stand by you through this crisis. I cannot be an ungrateful person." Miriam looked at me, moved, her eyes glistening with tears. "My dear boy, why must you put yourself through this?" I said, "Aunt Miriam, I know how good you have been to me all these years. You provided me with a good life and a great education, allowing me to be who I am today. Now it is my turn to repay you. Besides, in my past life, I was quite interested in the stock market and have some experience. I want to see if I can help you." Miriam hesitated for a moment, then finally nodded. "All right then, give a small try." I had just graduated from college, so I began to devote all my time to studying stocks. I worked day and night, analyzing market trends and studying all sorts of data and reports. Miriam trusted me completely, and I did not disappoint her. Leveraging my memories and experience from my past life, I quickly generated some impressive returns. Miriam said in surprise, "My boy, I never knew you had this talent." I smiled. "Aunt Miriam, this is just the beginning. I believe if we keep at it, we can definitely help you rebuild your empire." A month later, through my careful operations, I successfully made $2 million. That money for Miriam was just a drop in the bucket, far from enough to get her back on her feet. She had to pull herself together, constantly running between various business dealings, trying to find a glimmer of hope. One day, while Miriam was in her office, overwhelmed by paperwork, the phone rang abruptly. She answered it, and a familiar, excited voice came through the line. "Andy, I am back. I am here to help you." Miriam was stunned for a moment, then her eyes reddened. It was Chloe, returned from her studies abroad. Miriam quickly said, "Chloe, you just got back. You should rest first. You do not need to rush to help me." Chloe's tone was firm and warm. "Andy, you funded my education, sent me abroad, and gave me the chance to see a wider world. Now that you are in trouble, how could I possibly stand by and do nothing? I want to face this with you." Miriam felt a surge of warmth in her heart, but was also a little worried. "Chloe, you know how complicated things are right now. You just got back to the country. There's a lot you do not understand." Chloe chuckled lightly. "Do not worry, Annie. I studied finance abroad, and I am confident my professional knowledge will be useful. And do not forget, you are the one who trained me." Chloe's words made Miriam smile, and her worries began to dissipate. She decided to let Chloe give it a try. Maybe she really could bring a turnaround for the company. However, Miriam was working too hard, constantly going out for business dinners, and her body gradually could not take it. Finally, one day, she was hospitalized for a bleeding stomach ulcer from drinking too much. When Chloe and I rushed to the hospital, we saw Miriam lying pale on the bed, and our hearts ached. I said, "Aunt Miriam, you cannot keep ignoring your health like this. Just leave the company to us for now. If you collapse, we will truly have no hope." Chloe chimed in, "That is right, Andy. You need to rest and get your strength back. That is the most important thing." Seeing our worried faces, Miriam was deeply moved. She hesitated, then finally nodded. "All right, I will leave it in your hands then. Chloe, you need to teach Edward more. He is still young and has a lot to learn." In the days that followed, Chloe and I worked together seamlessly. Chloe had solid professional knowledge and a keen insight into the market, while I, with the knowledge and foresight of 2 lifetimes, provided her with some unique perspectives. One day, Chloe and I were discussing a new project. I felt it had great potential and that we should invest boldly. After listening, Chloe thought for a moment and then said, I agree. It is feasible, so let us give it a try. But we still need to do a thorough risk assessment to ensure everything is foolproof. And so, with our combined efforts, Miriam's company gradually began to recover. Although it had not returned to its former status as an industry leader, it was already a force to be reckoned with. However, just as Chloe and I were about to celebrate this achievement, we ran into Leo, who was with a starlet. He swaggered up to us and sneered. Well, look at you too in your sorry state. Still thinking you can make a comeback? What a fantasy. I looked at him calmly and said flatly, do not get too cocky. It is not over till it is over. Chloe, not to be outdone, shot him a disdainful look. We do not need your concern. You should worry about yourself. Hearing our words, Leo's face turned shades of green and white. In the end, he could only slink away with the starlet. But just as he was leaving, he turned back with a mysterious look and said to us, have you ever wondered how your dear Aunt Miriam's company secrets were leaked in the first place? Chloe and I exchanged a look, our hearts filled with shock. Could it be that the company's previous troubles were not entirely due to the market, but that someone had been sabotaging it from within? Countless thoughts flashed through my mind, and Chloe clenched her fists, her eyes shining with a determined light. We knew this battle was just beginning, and we could not let our guard down for a second. I looked at Leo in astonishment, saying in disbelief, Leo, I never thought you could do something like this. And Miriam was good to you. Even after you stole hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of her jewelry, she did not call the police out of respect for Dad. And you repaid her by stealing her company's secrets. You are a heartless, ungrateful monster. But Leo was completely unfazed, putting his arm around the starlet and walking away, arrogantly saying over his shoulder, Humph, what are you going to do about it? Watching him leave, I clenched my fists in anger. Miriam was still sick, so I decided not to tell her about this just yet. I would investigate secretly and bring Leo to justice. I made a silent vow. Leo, you will pay for what you have done. Before long, Miriam's health gradually improved, and with everyone's hard work, our company slowly climbed back to its position as an industry leader. Everything was getting better. Feeling the time was right, I told Miriam about Leo stealing and selling her company's secrets, handing over all the evidence I had collected. After reviewing the evidence, Miriam was furious. She slammed her hand on the table and said, that scoundrel. I tolerated his behavior time and time again, and he has the audacity to be so ungrateful. This time, I will not let him get away with it. With that, Miriam immediately called the police. Leo was arrested for selling company secrets. My mother rushed over to find me, and the moment she saw me, she started hitting and screaming at me. You ungrateful monster. You even harm your own brother. Do you have any conscience? I shouted back, hurt and angry, Mom, be reasonable. He is the one who did something wrong. Chloe, who had just gotten off work, saw the scene and quickly had security escort my mother away, warning her, do not you ever come bother him again, or you will regret it. As my mother was being led away, she kept cursing under her breath. When Miriam heard about this, she took my hand and said gently, my dear boy, you have worked so hard these days. I have decided to officially adopt you as my son. Not only that, but I am also naming you as my heir. I was moved to tears. Aunt Miriam, thank you for your trust and love. I will not let you down. The funny thing is, when Leo heard this news in prison, he was so angry he fainted on the spot. When Dad heard that Miriam had made a comeback, he came crawling back, trying to get on her good side. He put on a huge smile and said to her, Darling, I knew you could do it. I always believed in you. Miriam just sneered. Humph, what is the use of saying that now? I have seen your true colors. I am rich now. I can find any man I want. Dad, not giving up, continued. I was foolish before. Just give me one more chance. After a few more words, Miriam waved her hand impatiently and had him thrown out. Get out, do not be an eyesore. As he was leaving, Dad turned on me in a rage, yelling, You ungrateful brat. You did not even say a word to help me. Miriam had security drag him away, saying, "Do not let that kind of person come here again." As for my mother, it turned out her college first love was indeed in love with her, but he was already married. Mom was just his mistress. His wife was a formidable woman who directly threatened Mom with Leo's life, forcing her to leave. Mom begged and cried, "Please let us go." But the woman was ruthless. "Get lost, and do not let me see you again." Mom had to leave for Leo's sake. But after Leo got out of prison, he had a criminal record and could not find a job. Mom had no money, and Dad had long since disappeared. Leo resented Mom for being useless, yelling at her, "You can't even hold onto a man. You are so pathetic." Mom said sadly, "Son, there was nothing I could do." During one of their arguments, Leo lost control and accidentally killed her. This time, Leo was going to rot in jail for the rest of his life. I had to go to see him one last time. Leo's face was gaunt and haggard. He asked me why. Why did I still end up like this even after choosing Mom in this life? It is not fair. Why are you always so lucky? I looked at him and said calmly, "It is because you have a wicked heart and are an ungrateful person. No matter where you go, this would have been your end." Leo broke down sobbing. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I turned and walked away. Later, Chloe and I got married, and I smoothly took over Miriam's company. At our wedding, I looked deeply into Chloe's eyes and said, "Chloe, from now on, we will walk this path together." Chloe smiled back. Yes, for a lifetime. Life got better and better. One day, while out shopping, I saw someone who looked a lot like my father. Looking closer, I saw that it was him, but he had become a beggar on the street. I felt a pang of emotion and had someone give him $100,000, saying, "Let this be the final chapter of our father-son relationship." Then I turned and walked away, thinking to myself, "From now on, you go your way and I will go mine. We will never meet again in this lifetime."